Twyla with My Bilingual Life. Today, I want to talk to you about engaging your students with online platforms in your classroom. This last year has brought us a lot of challenges, and we've had to go with the flow with a lot of new online resources. It seems like a new platform or a new thing was coming out every day. So, what do you do now that you're going back to your regular classroom? Today, I want to give you some tips on how to use these methods in your in-person classroom. So before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about me. First, I did not grow up speaking Spanish, but at an early age, my family would work with some mission work, and I really had a desire to learn the language. I remember my sixth grade teacher took extra time to find her college textbooks to try and teach me a little bit of Spanish. I learned at any opportunity that I could. I took Spanish in high school, and I have my bachelor's degree with a Spanish concentration. I was taking graduate level classes by the end of my time in college with mostly native speakers. I still make mistakes, but I clearly remember the process of learning and what it took to be able to learn a language. I love to translate that to my students. I've been teaching bilingual students for over 15 years in the public schools. I also taught a year of high school Spanish, and I've taught other classes. I've taught ESL to inmates in a detention center. I have taught ESL to students in China. I've taught in many different situations, and I love working with my kids. A few years ago, I decided to leave the classroom right before COVID, which turned out to be a blessing for me. I was already teaching online, so when most of our country automatically became homeschoolers, my classes boomed. I was very, very busy, and I continue my work with my students even today. So I was working with a lot of these online platforms before many classroom teachers even knew about them. Now I look at these platforms in a little different way because most of my classes are taught online. So I'm very comfortable with the distance learning. And I think probably some of you are too. But let's look at how we can take what we've learned during this time for distance learning and how can we put that into our in-person classroom. First, please make sure to connect with me. I do have a YouTube channel where I put up videos that I use for my students. And I also have helpful videos for people trying to learn English or Spanish. I have a Facebook page. I'm very active on Pinterest, and I'm trying to get my Instagram going. So please make sure to connect with me. I also have the webpage, www.mybilinguallife.com. Also, if you'd like, please go to this website and you can download my handouts. I'll include my slides, and I may have a few extras. So when I first heard of this conference, the title that I thought about using, and might have been even a little bit more attractive, was Quizzes, Boom Cards, and Nearpod. Oh my. It's been a little overwhelming, all of the new learning platforms that have come out in the last couple of years, especially since March of 2020. There's so many options, and it's hard to know which one to spend time with. Now, many districts bought into different platforms, and those are great. But these three have free versions, and they're things that I have used with my online classes. Pretty much everything I show you today, you should be able to do with the free versions of these programs. Once you play around with them and get more familiar, you may be ready to go ahead and get one of the paid versions. I know I have a paid version to Boom Cards and Nearpod, and I use them a lot in my classes. I will be honest, I have not used Quizzes very much, but I'm looking into ways that I can use it with my kids. I do have a couple of decks of Boom Cards for sale in their store. However, this is absolutely not a commercial for my work because there are so many teachers that are making amazing things that are way beyond what I've been able to do. I hope that I will be to that level soon, but I'm not there yet. So don't feel any obligation to look at my resources. They may not fit your class. So our objectives today, we're going to learn about these three learning platforms. And remember, the reason I chose them is because they have free options that you can use almost all the way through. And how to get ideas on how to use these platforms in class. We've been using these in distance learning or something similar. So let's talk about how we can use them in an in-person class. Okay, first let's talk about quizzes. It works on most browsers. It has an app. It's mostly quiz style content. You can assign it to a class that you create in the program, or you can send a link. What I do like about this is that you can print the quiz or you can create flashcards. It is self-checking, so this gives you some good data. I'm going to take my picture off so that you can see the full screen. Okay, this is the home page of quizzes. If you have a student that wants to play one of the games, they can just go here to enter code. So let me go ahead and get logged in. And this is what it'll look like on your teacher view of quizzes. Now, first, they have an extensive set of ready-made lessons. There is a super quizzes membership. So far, I have not needed that. But as you can see, there are some of these quizzes that you do need to be on the super membership. So you can browse by topic. Here's mathematics, English and language arts, social studies, world languages, science, computer science and skills, career and technical education, creative arts. So you can look through here, or you can do a search. So maybe I want to do the verb hablar. And we can see that there's several lessons. Here's one for AR verbs. Here's one for hablar. So you can look for specific things, or you can look for general. I'm going to go to my library. And before class, I downloaded a couple options. Now, one thing that I have not figured out is how I can actually contact this creator. I like a lot of her things, but I do not know her. If you happen to be in this class, I would love to meet you. She has many things that I've been playing with my students. So that is one downfall I see. I can't find a way that I can contact the person that created this quiz. Let's look at this quiz. Let's pretend we're going to do this introducing yourself in Spanish quiz. And this tells you that it's been played 5.7K times. 7 people have liked it. Oh, I should give it a like. I do like this. And it's got 20 questions. So let's look at this if you were going to use it in your class. So here, what I really love about quizzes is I can actually print this quiz. If I wanted to use this as a printed quiz with my students, I could do that. I would just click print, and here I have several different options. I can shuffle the answers, I can shuffle the questions, I can change the font size. I love this. I think this is a great option for in-person classes. Okay, so I'm going to get out of there because we're not going to print this right now. So here I have start a live quiz. Now, if my students in my class have individual devices, or if I were on a Zoom call, I could do this and all the kids could take the quiz at the same time. The other option I have is to assign this as homework. So I can give it a deadline, or I can say no deadline, and then I can assign. Now you can create classes in here, but you have to import them from Google Classroom. If you have a school version of this, you can input from Canvas and Schoology. I don't have any of those options the way that I'm using it, so I would just assign. Okay, so here I have adaptive learning, so I can generate a unique set of questions every time to prevent copying and rote learning. Not a bad idea. How many attempts? Show the answers during the activity. If I were using this as a real test, I might not show them their answers. You can show the answers after the activity. Again, if I were doing this as a real test, I might not show the answers. Quizzes is kind of gamified, so kids can get on here and take quizzes that they find in the library, even if their teacher doesn't assign them to them. So you can earn points as you're taking quizzes. So I would probably take off the leaderboard for my class. I would leave on the shuffle questions. Redemption questions allow participants to reattempt a few incorrect questions. I think that sounds great. Play music and show memes. So this app is a little loud. So if you have a student that doesn't like that much noise, you might turn off the music. And it does show memes after each question. So you can look down here and it will show you the memes that they're using. They're pretty much already vetted that they're okay for kids, but you can always take a look at them. I haven't had any problems yet, and I've played it several times. So we're going to go ahead and assign this. Okay, so now my students can they can go to joinmyquiz.com and enter this code. Now, I can share this link, so I can copy this link and paste it. I can share it to Google Classroom. If you have school access, you can use Canvas or technology. You can use Twitter or Teams. I am going to copy on this link and open it in a new tab and show you what it's like to do a quiz. So it will put your name in if the students are logged in. If they're not, I think you can change this. So you can change your name. And the student can also choose if they want music, sound effects, memes. They can also choose to have the question read aloud. Now, I'm not sure how well that works with Spanish questions, but this is a good option. So let's start the quiz. So you can also choose themes, the colors behind your quizzes. There's a lot of things that the kids can play with. I'm just going to go ahead and start the game, or we could change it to the cars. So here we have the verb is correct. What should is our mean? I'm not going to do the whole quiz. You get the idea. It is pretty loud. I don't know if you heard it as loud as I did, but it is pretty loud. So for some of the students, that might be an issue. Of course, they can always play with their volume. So just be aware of that. So now that we played that quiz, let's go to the reports. Here we can see that somebody has started the quiz. In fact, it still says it's running. And so far, since I was trying to get some answers right and wrong, I only have 10% accuracy. So I can click on this and I can see the participants. I can see Twyla Godinez did not do so well on this test. Look here, I can also email to the parents. Okay. It's also going to tell me how many participation attempts I tried. Here it's going to tell me which questions we did. Now, most of these questions we didn't do yet. We didn't quite get there. And which this one does, some questions will have topics tagged, so you can see which topics you're having issues with. But again, you can print this, you can download it. So this gives you an idea of the information that you can get. So Quizzes has some great information. It's mostly quizzes. So it is a little bit limited on what you can do, but it makes it very much gamified, so the kids really enjoy that. So now let's take a look at boom cards. And again, like I said, I am a seller on boom cards, but I only have a couple of decks and I'm not really a serious seller yet. I have not learned how to create some of the amazing things that I've seen created here. So that is one of my goals for this year. Boom cards works on most browsers. It does have an app. You can assign to a class or send them to the link. In my case, I have to use the fast play option. Now, the problem with the fast play option is I don't know which student entered which information. So I don't have as good reports because I don't have a classroom management system like Google Classrooms. I will say Boom Cards is not as intuitive if you're trying to create the cards. If you want to do more than just a question with multiple choices, it can get a little bit tricky. But there are a lot of options. And for the most part, it's self-checking. I'm going to show you a few things that I found in the library that I enjoyed playing with, and you can see the diversity of things that you can do with Boom Cards. So here is the place where you can either sign in or you can do a fast play. So my students, when I give them the code, they go here to fast play. Notice there's also some language options here. I have not played with those very much, but let me go ahead and get signed in. Okay, so here is my account. And like I said, this is not as intuitive as some of the other programs. So first we'll go to the store. As you can see, there are different point values for the different prices. So you can buy things or you can find for free. So here are some of the featured authors, some of the featured decks. There are so many amazing things on here. I think you'll really enjoy exploring this. And I'm sorry to say you'll probably end up spending some money on these. So I found it, you can search here, you can search by authors, by decks, images. You can go by grade level, fonts, and printies, which are printable resources. So there's all sorts of things that you can get here on Boom Cards. I'm going to go to my library where I've already downloaded several different things. So I'm going to go first to this review of Spanish 1 verb meanings. This is a fairly simple quiz, and we're in the preview mode. So choose the correct translation of the verb you see. Poder, to be able to. I like that it gives the immediate dings if you're right. Let's get one wrong. Whoops. 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 So it lets you keep going until you get it right. Whoops. 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 So it pretty much sets the student up for success because it lets you keep going until you get it wrong. I'm going to go ahead and give up on this quiz. So if I wanted to assign this to my class, I can click here on assign and assign it to this class, which does not really work for me. This is just me in my own class. Or I can do the fast pin. And this is a shortcut for students to play right away, and they do not have to log in. But it does not generate student reports. So how I use this in my class is I let them do this, and I ask them to tell me what their score is at the end. I have very small classes right now, no more than 6. So usually they hold up their device to the camera and show me how they did. Okay, let me show you a couple other samples. This one goes a little bit more in depth. So this one is drag the correct buses to show how many 10s and 1s. So in this one, you're going to drag the numbers here and submit. Okay, let's get this one wrong. Whoops. So I got both numbers wrong. So now I need to try it again. So this is another way. There's all sorts of ways that you can use this, but I like that it is self-checking. And it makes the students try again. I guess they can always give up, but it prompts them to try again until they get it correct. Now I want to show you another example of one that was a little bit more extensive, but this one was not very intuitive. So this one, I think you would need a little bit of help. to work with this activity with your children. So today we'll set sail to find buried treasure. I'm going to skip through this a little bit. So here is the treasure map, and each of the numbers is an activity. Let's click on one. And it says, before we set sail, let's practice. Lift each barrel to find the hidden items and determine which item doesn't belong. So you have to move the barrels. And the one that doesn't belong is the boots. Okay. So now I go back here and I have to put an X on that number on the treasure map. Now this is where I got a little confused. You have to find the things that you need to move. I'm still not really sure. Ah, there it is. Ah. So this one was a little bit harder because I had to find the items that would move. So this one, the flower does not fly. So you go all the way through the end. And you have to figure out first of all, you have to figure out where the things are and which one does not belong. So the pencil is not round. I thought this was a great activity and I can see a lot of use for it, but I think the students might need a little bit more direction to be able to do it. I don't think this is something that you could give them for homework, so to speak. So I'll spend just a minute and show you one of the quizzes that I made. It's not very intuitive to me because I would feel like my card decks that I have created should be in the library, but they're actually under Studio. This would be where you would create your decks. So I'm going to go here to make decks, and here's some of the ones. We have a great get started one. I'll show you my Spanish summer vocabulary. It's very simple. Okay, so if I wanted to share this with my class, I would just do the preview. So this one I'm going to skip. ¿Qué es helado? ¿Qué es?
Whoops.
¿Qué es? Now, I had already taught my students this vocabulary with some flashcards. We were making sure that they knew the pictures and the words. So it's a very simple quiz. Making something simple like this is not too difficult, but making some of the other activities takes a little bit more practice. There is definitely a learning curve to boom cards, but there are some amazing things that you can do. I could use these on my interactive whiteboard just by pulling up one of these activities. Now, if you wanted to assign this to individuals or you wanted to do them with a code, you don't get the data that you would normally get, but maybe like if I were doing this pirate thing, maybe I don't need to know the data as much. So, or even on the numbers, I know that it's going to make them keep trying it again until they get the right answer. If you are in Google Classrooms and you can set up your class, this is wonderful. I have that limitation. So Boom Cards doesn't work for me in that sense, but I know that many school districts went the way of Google Classrooms. So this is wonderful for that. And last but definitely not least, let's talk about Nearpod. I'm going to say Nearpod is my favorite of these options. First, it works on most browsers. It does have an app. You can assign it to a class or send a link. You can also just send a code. There's more options and things to do. And you can link to outside resources. And it is self-checking for the most part. Now, what I like about Nearpod is it is not just a quiz activity. There's a variety of activities that you can do. So let's go to Nearpod and check it out. So here's the start screen of Nearpod. If the students have a code, they can just type the code right here. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now, if I want to assign one of these, I can do live participation. So this would mean the students are participating at the same time. This is great for online learning. It's great for using if your students have the device in class. You can also use student paste. This is what I use mostly with my students. It's kind of like giving it to them as homework. Then you can create a link and you can assign it in Google Classrooms, or I can assign it as I can put the link into my classroom. So let's look at this one. This is an example of how you can use Nearpod. So since we're doing the preview, it does have some other things here on the side that you can look at, some related content. But you can create just a title screen. This is a lesson that I put together. So I give a little notice. This mini lesson was created so you can see how to use some of the fun features of Nearpod. I have chosen to use this tool as an effective way to organize class materials for my students. It's fun and easy to use. I'll give you a code so that you can access this lesson at the link that I gave you at the beginning of the presentation. So one of the things that you can do, and you get to watch me sing to my students, is you can embed a video. I put a lot of my things that I use in my class up on YouTube so that my students can access them again. And you can embed a YouTube video here.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hola, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien, gracias. Estoy bien, gracias.
I will just go ahead and stop that there. Now it will, when you're finished, it will show more videos here. So be aware of that. But usually it's not too big of a problem. Okay, one of the other fun things is it does have a whole collection of virtual reality places. So the kids can drag around and look at this place. Do you recognize it? Do you know where this is? This is the Zócalo in Mexico City, getting ready for the Independence Day celebration. So this is kind of cool. They have a whole library of virtual reality experiences that you can use. They also have some 3D models. This is really cool, especially in science. I know they have like a model of the cell. But here's a model of the pyramid that the students can manipulate and look at from all angles. So here we have an open-ended question. These are some of the different kinds of activities. So here's a question. What is your favorite color? That you can answer here. Okay. Here's a matching activity. Match the following math statements. I use this a lot with my vocabulary. I'll put the English word and the Spanish word, or the word and the definition. So 1 + 1 is 2. Oops, and I'm sorry, I didn't show you how to get a wrong response. And it will tell you how many times it took you to get it. Okay. There is a drawing feature. So this one said draw a circle. So you can use crayon or you can use highlighter. And the students can draw their circle. Now, I will say this is what's really cool is you can insert your background. So if you have a file that you've used or a worksheet, you can insert that as your background, and maybe it's a circle the answer or draw a line matching. You can put your worksheets in here and students can write on them with the pen. So that's an option. You can have fill in the blanks. There are 50 states in the United States. I'm going to mess this one up. We celebrate our July on the 4th of Independence. You got 1 out of 3 correct answers. Okay, and then there's a little quiz. This does have the quiz function just like the other options. How many eyes do you have? How many ears do you have? I'm an alien. I have 5 ears. I actually had a student tell me that one time. You just can't see them, he said. So when I get that done, it will turn my answers in and I can see the answers. This is a fun option if you have a whole class of students. What do you think about Nearpod? You can type your answer in and it'll make a sticky note. So that's kind of fun. And it does have some images that you can use. The students can add their image. Now, one other thing that I like about Nearpod is Nearpod has a whole selection in their library. So we can go to the Nearpod library, and I am going to go to lessons, and I'm going to go to world languages. They have 747 Spanish lessons created by the Nearpod team and 100 something in French. So you can do K through 5, Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3. I chose K through 5 because that's what I'm most familiar with. K through 2. And since back to school, I was kind of thinking about en la escuela. And look at this. It has Que llevo a la escuela. And this is the novice, intermediate, and advanced version. So this is a great way to differentiate. So they have these lessons ready, prepared for you to use for free. So we can click through here. And it even gives you the whole lesson plan. So I loved this. There's so many great lessons that you can use on Nearpod itself. I've got to say, I am a big Nearpod fan. That's all fine and good, but let's talk about using this in your classroom. After COVID, there's more and more classes that do have individual devices for every student. So if you have a classroom that has individual devices, you could be using this as a pre-test or a post-test. You could use it as an exit ticket. You could have a code ready for early finishers. You could use this as a review for the assessments to see which areas they need help in. You could do a quiz of the day. You could use this as morning bell work while you're taking attendance or any other time that you need the students to be busy with something for a short period of time. I would use different quizzes of different subjects that maybe are something that we haven't really been able to study, but something that would be fun for the students. If you have limited devices, maybe you have enough for one group in learning centers. This is great for learning centers. Have one of the centers of the day be, you're going to do this boom cards lesson, or you're going to do this Nearpods lesson, and just have that posted in the computer center. You could always have a device ready with a couple of different codes for early finishers. I think that's a great idea. This is a great way to extend the lesson, especially when you have those students that maybe are GT, or maybe they just know this one topic that you're working on in class very well. You can go ahead and advance them a little bit. On the other hand, this is great for differentiation. If you have a student that needs to have everything read to them, this is a wonderful option. If you have a student that needs some extra help with one particular topic, this is great. You could also have them do a full class test. Like if you were doing a full class test, you could do it as group works, have them work in a group together, have each table have one device to send in their answers. If you have an interactive whiteboard, you can use this for whole group instruction. I was thinking that this was a perfect way to do the hybrid classes. You could do the Nearpod lesson with the whole group and then send it home to the kids that are at home. You can do these lessons up on the whiteboard, just like I presented them to you on Zoom today. This would be great to review for an assessment. If you have a benchmark coming up, pull up some of these quizzes and practice the topics and the standards that you're going to be tested on and see what areas you need to work on. You could play kind of an improve our score game. Maybe do one of these quizzes at the beginning of your unit and write down what your score was as a class. And then at the end of the unit, see what your score is. I like to help the kids know that it's not necessarily a competition between two students and how much they know, but how much did each student improve? We're always looking for improvement and learning in our classrooms instead of, do you know more than someone else? Now, I know that it may not be really popular to say this, but this is a great filler. There's always something that messes up your time schedule. I remember one year our cafeteria was running late with lunch and we got a phone call. We need you to hold off on lunch for another 30 minutes. Well, the activity that I had planned for after lunch took more than 30 minutes. So I had to find something that I could do with that 30 minutes. So it would be great to have a few of these activities in your library that you can throw in whenever you need. And we're going to talk about distance learning, although hopefully this is in our past. But you can use these lessons for the whole group instruction. You can assign them as individual assignments. And most of them integrate easily with the learning system your school is using. The only problem is if you have a school that has not taken on a learning system, or you're teaching something alternative like I am, I don't have a learning system that I can use. So I have to work around it. So some other uses. This is perfect for differentiation. None of these platforms, except for Boom, if you want to do some of the wonderful fancy things that they did, are very difficult to learn. If you want to do just a simple multiple choice quiz on Boom, it's pretty easy. So if you have a quiz that you're giving your whole class, but you have a student that needs to have it shortened, have it read to them, there are options in most of these platforms that you can do that. I think every one of them has audio capability. This is a possible option for homework. Depending on your situation, if your students have devices that they can take home and they have technology ready for them, then this could be a way to do homework. Every Friday in my class, we had fun day. We set goals on Monday, and for my students that had met their goals, they were able to take part in fun day. And that was a combination of different centers, some more fun centers like building with the blocks. It would be wonderful to have some of these activities set up as fun day activities. You could have a list of codes for the different platforms. You could always use this in your guided reading or your guided math. You could have a device, maybe even just an iPad, and pull up a lesson and do it with your small group. This is wonderful for small group instruction. So just use your imagination a little bit and think of the different ways that you could use these things in your classroom. I really hope that this has been helpful and has helped take away a little bit of the fear of some of these platforms and helped you see ways that you can use them in your classroom. Make sure that you connect with me on social media. Check out my website and make sure that you get the downloads that I'll have there, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you for spending this time with me. Nos vemos.